Thank you, Deacon Steve. We have seen the Lord. Have you ever been in a graveyard early in the morning, all alone? Graveyards can be really spooky. Highgate Cemetery in London certainly was. Many years ago, Carol joined me on a business trip to London. We had a day off to tour. A friend knew about such off-the-beaten-path places. He was a security analyst with Morgan Stanley who traveled the world. Tom told us to be sure to go to Highgate Cemetery in far north London. We did. It was a chilly, frost-on-your-breath morning when we got there. Much of the place was overgrown. There was only one other person there, a seedy-looking grave digger in his small tractor, pulling a wagon. He was off to prepare a final resting place for some poor soul. We were all alone when we passed the grave of Karl Marx. At other times, thousands of young comrades from around the world, especially from China, would pay their homage to their famed socialist idol at that very same place. On a cold, damp morning, a lone gravedigger, overgrown headstones, unexpected dead luminaries like Marx and George Eliot. It was downright frightening. Spooky as it was, that gravedigger was particularly creepy. Carol and I weren't afraid. Our rational Western minds assured us that graves would not pop open, nor otherworldly figures suddenly appear. That same confidence accompanies me several times a year when I pay respect at my mom's graveside. She's buried in Memorial Park in Tulsa. The thick walls of that cemetery amazingly block out much of the noise from 51st Street and Memorial. It's not spooky there either, although it is pretty quiet. As I pray at Mom's final resting place, as I did just before the Safer at Home edict, I'm certain that nearby tombs are not going to burst open with eerily looking spooks appearing. Mary Magdalene had lots to fear that first Easter morning. Before dawn, she was entering a remote graveyard, no 51st Street traffic to calm her. She was going to complete the burial rites for her master and brother. That could have gotten her in real trouble with the authorities. They would stop at nothing to protect their status. Still, experience had taught her that she could expect the sameness that I did when visiting my mother. But it was not so. It had occurred to her that the huge stone in front of Jesus' tomb would be a problem. Imagine her amazement to find that stone moved to the side. Imagine her amazement to find the tomb empty, but for a couple of ethereal figures. She ran to tell Jesus' closest friends what she had seen, or rather not seen. Where was Jesus? Where was his body? They came to look at the empty tomb. All but one were incomprehensible. They returned to their home unbelieving. Mary Magdalene stayed there. She wondered if the suspension of normalcy didn't portend something more. And so it did. Someone, not a lone gravedigger or a gardener, appears to her. It was Jesus himself. She believes and goes to the other disciples, those unbelieving characters, to proclaim, "I have seen the Lord." The world would say that when you and I come to this table week in and week out to receive Holy Communion, we're pursuing a chimera. It's a joke. The sameness of the world just won't accept the gift of life after death, the gift of God's unconditional love. You and I know better. Day in and day out, hour in and hour out, we know that the Spirit of Jesus is with us, palpable, energizing us, empowering us to follow him. When we come to this altar, we expect the sameness of the world to evaporate. Jesus appears to us in the broken bread of his body and the poured wine of his blood. We come, we eat, we drink, and we too say, "We have seen the Lord."